He pleaded not guilty on all counts. The judge also granted Bankman-Fried's application to seal the names of additional bond co-signers. So he had been released on a $250 million bond that was signed by his parents, and then two other anonymous names. His legal team had requested earlier today to redact the names of those people, citing security concerns that the government plans to interview both of those people in the next couple of days here to figure out the terms of that bond. It also set a January deadline for the media and the public to contest the sealing of that information if they want to, so that we may see that in the next couple of weeks here. And there are some new terms, Sarah, to his bail. So the judge ruled that Bankman-Fried is now prohibited from accessing or transferring any FTX and Alameda cryptocurrency, anything related to either entity or any of the subsidiaries related to FTX. He had tweeted about that over the weekend, denying some reports that Sam Bankman-Fried had moved money around. So that's an update to the bail agreement. And then the next step here, the prosecutor says the government will now provide Bankman-Fried's defense team with hundreds of thousands of documents in evidence in the next 2 weeks. So that would include materials from some of the FTX debtors, investors in FTX. There's also mentioned political campaigns as well. We've also got a potential trial date that's set for October 2nd. It's expected to last about 4 weeks, Sarah.
Welcome back to Tech Check. Deere has been making big investments in robotics, AI, and drones, and it would appear to be paying off. The stock, a big winner of last year. Ahead of CES, our Seema Modi sat down with the company's technology chief. Joins us with the highlights. Seema.
Hey, Dee, and one piece of news here from my interview with the CTO, Jamie Hinman. He is in the final stages of picking a satellite partner to broaden Deere's digital footprint of farms. The goal essentially is to give farmers a more accurate read of what's happening across their land, find out which parts are more productive, yielding more crop, or experiencing issues.
We look at the burgeoning efforts that are happening in low Earth orbit satellites as an example, in the LEO constellations as a way potentially for us to start to solve some of those connectivity issues and make connectivity truly global for John Deere customers.
The new technology that we're showing is an autonomous tractor, and it's the first time that we've ever been able to take the operator outside of the tractor.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And we have the Bankman court date set, and the Bankman is not expected in court until October of 2023. Guys, by that time we know everything is going to be forgotten. And that gives them plenty of time to get these derivatives on blockchain and being ran by an algorithm. We know by October 2023, the United States economy is going to be spiraling out of control. And then, guys, we have John Deere. And you know, I always say it, robots, algorithms, and drones. Now we have CNBC bringing you John Deere on artificial intelligence, drones, and robots. And you know, when I first started this channel, I did a couple of videos on John Deere with all the automation. It's not there to help the farmers. It's there to get rid of the employees. And the reason why they want to use satellite, and we know why, guys, because not only are you able to see the technology, but you will be able to control the technology. And then, guys, we have the Fed. And yes, the Fed definitely caused all this inflation. And finally, they have someone on CNBC to say it, but you know they hit you with the Hegelian dialectic. Yes, the Fed was honest on what they were going to do after they caused all the inflation, not before. And then we have the digital currency group and the Winklevoss twins battle. But guys, we know business, and especially when you're talking about $900 million, $1 billion, that's done behind closed doors, not on Twitter. So that's how you know it's just part of the movie. And you know, if you're part of my Patreon, I connected the dots when it comes to digital currency group. There's some powerful hands behind them. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Fairly candid. When he spoke at Brookings a few weeks ago, he said flatly, we made a mistake. We should not have said that we would keep interest rates low despite falling unemployment until inflation started to pick up. So, yeah, I mean, the guy hasn't exactly gone out there and flagellated himself, but compared to, say, Alan Greenspan, who I think admitted one mistake in 20 years as Fed chair, I think he's done that. I agree, though, that when we do the anatomy of what went wrong here, that the Fed was slow. They didn't react when fiscal spending was a lot more than they had anticipated. And I think that's going to be a factor now. I suspect the last burst of federal spending, the stuff that recently passed, will add another 0.25 percentage point to the Fed's terminal rate.
Joel, you satisfied with that response?
Oh, I know, because if you go back over the past 2.5 years, it was the Federal Reserve coordinating very closely with Congress, with President Trump, and with President Biden to ensure that the explosive growth in spending on the federal level would be financed by the Federal Reserve, printing trillions of dollars to purchase government bonds, and of course to also inflate the housing market by purchasing trillions of dollars of mortgage-backed securities. The primary issue here is not that the Federal Reserve has reacted too slowly by raising interest rates, it's that they actually worked hand in hand with Congress in a disastrous manner that ensured that we would have this huge burst of inflation that we experienced in 2022. This was forecast by many, not just free market economists, but also by President Obama's former top economist, Larry Sumner. So for the Fed to refuse to acknowledge their role in this because of all the money printing, that is a travesty.
But this crypto battle, a big one taking place over the weekend. Gemini co-founder Cameron Winklevoss and digital currency groups Barry Silbert sparring on Twitter. Here's a little bit of the background about what happened. Silbert's Genesis is a lending partner of Gemini's Earn program, which allows retail users to lend their crypto in exchange for very high interest rates, as high as about 8%. After the collapse of FTX, though, Genesis halted redemptions after it couldn't meet the withdrawal request, effectively wiping out anyone who still had holdings in the Gemini program, at least at the moment, that had been lent to Genesis. So now Gemini has banded together with other creditors of Genesis to try to find a way for the crypto lender to return those assets that were owned. Now, in an open letter, Winklevoss said that Genesis creditors have repeatedly tried to get together with Silbert and sent him multiple proposals. He accused Silbert of hiding behind lawyers and investment bankers. Silbert then responded, refuting Winklevoss's claims and saying his company had developed a proposal on December 29th and hadn't received a response. But meantime, if you were on the other end of this, you are out of luck and you've got nothing. Then, by the way, underneath all of this is a question, which Barry Silbert says is not right, but Winklevoss effectively saying that Barry's larger company at the parent level effectively has a loan to Genesis, and that's what's happening here and the problem. There's other people who say that if, in fact, Genesis were to have to pay people out right now, it would kill the Bitcoin market. You were talking about Bitcoin and the value of Bitcoin, that it would sort of unravel the value because there'd have to be a lot of forced selling. So there's sort of I know there's a very complicated story. There's a lot of elements to this, but this is effectively a gating situation. And the question is,
allowed under the contract of these things?
I mean, the whole thing is the Wild West. I think that technically there is an allowance for this, but this is what happens. And then the question is, I am imagining that Barry and team are hoping that the farther out you can push this, the more time they will have to try to fundraise and get some more money in there, to the extent that they can succeed at that. And therefore, that would prevent the run on the Bitcoin piece, by the way, which is the other element of this. In addition to this, it's worth noting that Barry owns Grayscale, and we've had them on many times. There is a huge disconnect between the NAV of the value of how they're holding, quote, Bitcoin, if you will, and actual Bitcoin. And there's a whole number of people, I believe, at least it was insinuated, where Barry and others are actually trading the spread of that. So
we're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.